Yeah. Like I think the next freaking thing for the Russian and the worldwide collapse, like will be like the debt, like defaulting on your debt, or like have some punishment when you get some extra money and shit. Because like look at Russia, like the sanctions hit Russia so hard that they're on the brink of freaking debt. See here, like
Well, the Russian economy, not long ago a global powerhouse, may be forced into default. Sanctions against the country have choked off its access to US dollars, and now it's facing foreign debt repayments that credit agencies say it may not make. It is the first repayment on an offshore bond, almost $120 million. It's due today, and it is the first of 4 payments due this month alone. Analysts say a default is not likely to have a major impact on Asia, but the wider impact remains a concern.
I think systemic-wise, it probably won't have that big of an impact here in Asia or even to the rest of the world. I think it's the unintended consequence of it, which I think we should be worried about, which is it further pushes the Russian economy into a corner. Sentiment-wise, I think it will depend on how this war pans out, how long it will continue. The longer it continues, it erodes investor confidence, definitely.
As Dewey Chapman in Moscow explained, Russia has a workaround to the problem, but it's one that investors are unlikely to bear. Russia's finance ministry said earlier this week that it ordered the interest payments to be made on $2 denominated bonds. Sanctions issued by the US may block the foreign currency transactions. These are relatively small payments, but they are only the first of many, with Russia owing a further $615 million this month. For many years, Russia's low debt levels and significant energy exports have made it a reliable borrower. But when sanctions were announced against the central bank, around half of Russia's foreign currency reserves became inaccessible. As a workaround, Russia could make payments on its debt in its own currency, the Russian ruble. Finance Minister Anton Siluanov says that would be absolutely fair under the circumstances, but most Western investors would consider that a default. Mr. Siluanov says that the West is artificially pushing Russia towards that outcome. There are fears that Russia's inability to pay its international debts could eventually trigger a financial crisis. But even if sanctions prevent Russia from making Wednesday's bond payment, there is a 30-day grace period to find a potential solution. Julia Chapman, CNA, Moscow.
looks green screen in her background. Yeah. Well, look at Sri Lanka, like, yeah, they're suffering, and they're asking for money to help supplies and shit.
For quite some time now, the island nation has been in the grip of a severe financial crisis. Foreign reserves have been depleting. The currency has been losing its value. Public debt has reached unsustainable levels. Given the state of affairs, the government of Sri Lanka has taken a desperate step. It has decided to seek a bailout from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. Also, $1 billion line of credit from India. We'll discuss both of them in detail. First, the IMF bailout. On Wednesday evening, the Sri Lankan president announced that his officials are in talks with the IMF regarding the repayment of loan installments and sovereign bonds. Listen to this.
The government is in discussions with various parties to implement a new method regarding this, which will be beneficial to our country. Yesterday's discussion with the International Monetary Fund was also held for this purpose. Through those discussions, we hope to find a way to pay off our annual loan installments, sovereign bonds, and so on.
So how much money will Colombo take from the IMF? We don't know that yet. What we do know is that this decision marks a radical policy shift for the Rajapaksas. For more than a year now, the Rajapaksas have been resisting all calls to seek the IMF's help. Both from international experts and their own policymakers, they've all been asking the government to go to the IMF, but the government kept arguing against this, against asking global financial bodies for help. They said this will come with strings attached and this would hurt Sri Lankan interests. Well, those conditions don't matter anymore. The Rajapaksas have taken a U-turn, and these pictures explain why. The people of Sri Lanka have hit the streets. They're blaming the government for the economic crunch. For the last 2 days, hundreds of them have been protesting outside the Sri Lankan president's office, accusing him of destroying the country's economy and making calls for his resignation.
No medicine in the farms, no cement, no food, no drink, no milk powder to give to the children.
Yeah. See, like, yeah, maybe some of this could be staged, all we know, but when you're like on the brink of like, barely anything, you just have nothing else to risk. So fuck it. You just kind of get out. You just like protest. But it just it's kind of a bit too convenient for the IMF to just just fuck your soul, fuck your nation, just go with the IMF. So it just sounds like it does kind of sound like kind of forced. Let's go with the IMF. Well, when you watch this video, this guy, I know, a whole bunch of people aren't into Islam, and that's fine. I'm not really into Islam either, but this guy has a good insight for the IMF thing, the control of fucking nations. So look at this. So you could ignore his Islam shit and focus on the IMF shit.
Response to what's happening in the Holy Land before you pick up your sword. The IMF was designed to put a rope around your neck. And the IMF has already succeeded magnificently so in putting a rope around the necks of every Muslim country. And so your prime minister has to be rushing here and there to try to find money to save and avert a default on external loans. That's where Imran Khan is now, searching for money to avoid a default on an external loan. They did not lend you money just to make money and become rich. When will you understand? Why don't you read Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins? Why and when will you read Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins? They lent you money in order to put a rope around your neck. That's why they gave you loans. And they don't want you to get rid of that rope around your neck. So they will do everything to ensure that you cannot escape. When will you understand? 20 years ago, here in Rawalpindi, in a public lecture, I remember 20 years ago, I said what you have to do to get this rope from around your neck to be removed so that you don't remain a slave of the modern West. That you don't have the freedom to respond, because if you do this, they'll attack your money and the money will go down in value and the whole economy will be crumbling. Runaway inflation. That's what they did in Venezuela when Hugo Chavez stood up to resist them. That's what they did in Zimbabwe when Robert Mugabe stood up to resist them. That's the weapon they have. It's the most dangerous weapon of all that they have, to deny you your freedom. A slave country cannot wage war. A slave country cannot liberate Jerusalem. No matter if you have nuclear weapons in Pakistan, you can't wage any war over a long period of time, maybe a day or two. You cannot wage war. You cannot liberate a land when you have this sword hanging over your head, that if you make one step of defiance, your money will crumble. Your economy will go berserk. You can't wage war like that. So if you want to respond to them and you want to be faithful to the Quran, the long-term process is to recover your freedom. Let me repeat that. If you want to liberate Jerusalem, you have to first recover your freedom. Russia has done it. They tried to make Russia their slave. Yes, they did. But Russia has not become their slave. Russia is a free country. That's why Russia could stand up and resist them. China is a free country. China could stand up and resist them. China is not a slave. But Pakistan is a slave. It's a slave country. So then what do we do if we want to respond to the oppression in Jerusalem, the oppression in the Holy Land? It's not just to pick up a sword and jump up. That's not the way to respond to liberate Jerusalem. So wake up, my little schoolboys. If you want to liberate Jerusalem, you have to do it in a sensible and intelligent way. And the first step along that road is to recover your freedom. How can we recover our freedom when the Pakistan rupee is so vulnerable? One small step, and it slides down. Answer. I'm not going to take much time because I don't want this video to be too long. But I want to put it down into the record so all those who are listening, they will learn now. And if we plan to see today, maybe 5-10 years, tomorrow we have scholars. We don't have scholars today. Dinar and dirham are in the Quran. The State Bank of Pakistan doesn't know that, or the National Bank. The government of Pakistan doesn't know that, or probably doesn't care about that. I don't know about the armed forces. But you, the people, must know that the word dinar is in the Quran, the word dirham is in the Quran, it is in the Sunnah. Money in Islam is dinar and dirham. You want to challenge me? Come, I'm ready for your challenge. Come with your PhD from MIT, I'm ready for you. Because money in the Quran and money in the Sunnah is dinar and dirham, and it is money with intrinsic value. You differ with me, you want to challenge me? Come, I'm ready for you. I'm studying my subject. Allah made it halal, the IMF made it haram. You don't know that it's haram, that it's shirk, but we know it's shirk because we are faithful to the Quran.
Okay, well, that is long shit. So basically, like, everyone's enslaved and shit. And the only way to get out of this shit is to be free. And but like with Russia currently right now doing all that shit, it's even suffering. Like, it's not really as free as he said, but like all these other countries are in ties, are like in deep financial fucking ruin, and they gotta sell their souls even more with the IMF, which is in Washington D.C. Like, if you don't believe me, let's look this shit up. Like fucking the IMF. Washington D.C. That's all Uncle Sam's money. Yeah. Fucking up everybody. Uncle Sam. Goddamn. Okay, well, maybe you can't see it from Uncle Sam's money. Yeah. No one loves this organization. Yeah, fuck them too. Made it. Goddamn. About to fuck over the Nazis and shit. Holy shit. Hopefully this video stays on. But yeah. But I think basically World War III could be also basically bankruptcy. Just like, with COVID, fucking all these corporations went out of business besides Amazon. And the recession, everyone was losing money, but Amazon was losing money to win it. Amazon was losing money. I won't post an article or show you. All you guys know that shit. And Sears used to be big, number one. Walmart. Well, Walmart's not going out of business, but JCPenney's, a whole bunch of those corporations just went out of business. You know, like there's only like 22 Sears left, and J.C. Penney's declared bankruptcy and shit. And yeah, so pretty much, and they've been closing up stores too. So that one theory, U.S. is a corporation. Well, it's basically the same idea with Russia, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Like, they're both corporations in a sense. They want money and shit, and they got to pay back their debt like a corporation. So basically, a corporation, and you have to work for that corporation. Like, you have to work for Russia. You got to pay off your debt. I meant your taxes to Russia and shit. The same with all these other countries. And the great ruler is, whatever, Zion. But yeah, to liberate us from, we gotta get away from the IMF somehow. And like Russia is trying to do its own shit with China. But it's puppets of puppets of puppets. So, the IMF has their strings, and people want to make their own strings, the fucking other world orders making their own strings, like China and Russia. But shit. Like, World War III will be like, trying to face off the IMF or be slaves of the IMF. Basically, like, that's partly why, China and Russia are like fighting off the IMF and shit. And like, you see Iran fucking getting all these bombs, trying to liberate the Holy Land, and maybe Pakistan. They're just like saying, fuck the IMF. It's fuck Uncle Sam's money. The fucking devil. But yeah, well, whatever. Like, we're still going to be fucked with anyway with the yuan money. So, all right, well, that's it. So, bye-bye.